Insidious 5 just got a release date out of absolutely nowhere. Let's get into this.
What's your favorite scary movie? Hey, man.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Well, I'm Pennywise the Dancing now.
Oh, blood on the beast!
God, don't do that.
But sometimes death is better.
Hey everybody, what's up? KillJoy Jake here, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. I really gotta change that tagline because wow, even I'm getting sick of it. But before we get into today's update, I just want to say a few things. I have been very busy filming the entire ending of Red Right Hand, a Scream fan film, coming this December right here on KillJoy Jake, a very awesome fan film that I am so excited to bring to you guys. We should be wrapping up here very shortly, and I'm very excited to make that announcement. But besides that good news, there really hasn't been too many good things happening in the horror space lately. All of Scream 6 pretty much leaked, which really sucks. With Halloween Ends, a lot of the people involved have been saying some really just weird and negative things about the film, which kind of doesn't bode very well. Although we do get the trailer tomorrow, so there is that. But finally, we have some good news regarding a franchise we have not been able to talk about too many times on this page just because there hasn't been any news. Insidious 5 finally has a release date. It's coming out July 7th of 2023. This is super exciting news because since 2020, we have basically been in the dark about Insidious 5. It was announced at Blumfest, and then that's it. I mean, we basically learned that Patrick Wilson will be directing and starring in the upcoming flick that will once again follow the Lambert family from the first two films, and Ty Simpkins will return, who is of course Dalton from those first two movies. Insidious Chapter 5 will pick up with the Lamberts 10 years after the last movie, as Dalton begins college. Yes, a direct sequel to Insidious and Insidious Chapter 2. Obviously, 3 and 4 are still canon to this universe, but both of those are kind of prequels, and the timeline for this film, as you can see below, is pretty weird. Patrick Wilson will not only star and direct in this film, but Scott Teems from Halloween Kills will write the script based on a story by franchise co-creator Leigh Whannell. Now, this I'm a little worried about. Not that I don't like Scott Teems, but he also wrote the script for Firestarter, which I don't know, some people really liked it. It was a total miss for me personally. I just didn't care for it. I mean, it was awesome that John Carpenter's score was like in that movie, and I'm so glad I went to the theater for that reason, but besides that, why the fuck do they kill a cat in that movie? Thankfully, though, this is based on a story from Leigh Whannell, who has written literally every other entry to date besides this film. So I'm a little worried that we're kind of changing up things from a writing standpoint, but we have Patrick Wilson in charge of this puppy, so it should be good. This is the first time he's ever directed something, but like everything Patrick Wilson is in is pretty damn good. I mean, holy shit. Patrick Wilson said, "I'm honored and thrilled to be at the helm of the next Insidious installment, which will provide an amazing chance to unpack everything the Lamberts went through a decade ago, as well as deal with the consequences of their choices. Directing the movie is both professionally and personally a full circle moment for me, and I am extremely grateful to be entrusted in continuing to tell this frightening and haunting story into the further we go." I'm so unbelievably excited for Insidious 5, and unfortunately the Insidious franchise kind of gets categorized in all those movies from like the early 2010s that like everyone criticizes for relying on jump scares. Yes, jump scares are a big part of the Insidious franchise, but there's so much more than that. Do you like 80s horror films that like rely on monster and creature effects? Guess what? Insidious has that. Look at all these scary monsters. Look at, this is all from the Insidious franchise. Every installment of the Insidious franchise has a different monster. That's fucking awesome. I can't say that about like any other horror franchise pretty much. That's pretty sweet, man. Listen, you cannot dox the Insidious franchise. You really can't. This is a very underrated horror series, and it's totally understandable why its fourth installment is the most successful of the entire franchise. They just keep throwing cooler and cooler shit at us with every single installment. Sure, was Insidious The Last Key easily the weakest installment? I mean, like, yeah, but I still super enjoyed it. Oh my god, Keyface is maybe one of the best villains in the entire series besides the, like, main Insidious lipstick demon guy. That's his name, that whole title. That whole thing is what he's called. No, it's not. To me, the Insidious franchise is the best little franchise that came from this kind of subgenre of horror from, like, the early 2010s and late thousands. Like, we had the Paranormal Activity franchise, which I think is actually pretty damn consistent throughout, besides like one big dud, Ghost Dimension. That movie, If you don't look at that, the entire franchise is pretty damn solid and I really enjoy it, but the characters overall just are nowhere near as strong as the characters that center in the Insidious flicks, in my opinion. They also vary from movie to movie, where in the Insidious franchise, you basically have the same characters besides the Lambert family in all 4 films. The Sinister movies are also pretty damn good, but the first one is easily the best, the second one's just kind of weak from a plot standpoint, in my opinion. And then you have the Conjuring universe, which is easily its biggest rival, which in my opinion also just has gotten kind of stale lately. The last 2 installments of the franchise were Annabelle Comes Home and The Conjuring 3, which I just don't know how I feel about The Conjuring 3. I really need to do a rewatch on it, but the first time I watched it, it just felt like such a departure from everything that made the Conjuring series so great. It was pretty devoid of jump scares, but besides the opening, which was fucking terrifying and awesome. But after that, it kind of turns into like a cult mystery film, which is really strange, and yes, I appreciate the new direction, but maybe was a little too ambitious. And Annabelle Comes Home, although absolutely hilarious, and maybe has some of the best characters across the board in these entire movies, was pretty devoid of jump scares once again. At least effective ones, that is. Insidious franchise, although yes, has some weak points in the plot here and there, and especially in Insidious 2 and 4, still is all consistently scary throughout the entire franchise, and easily my favorite of this kind of like jump scare horror genre. I'm so excited for Insidious 5 coming next summer, but what do you guys think? Leave me something about it in the comments below. If you want to support this channel even further, you can support me on Patreon or become a channel member by clicking that join button on my page. Thank you guys so much for watching again. It is so great to be back after a couple of days of not being able to make content. And as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.